Hello again, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this Wednesday's edition of Alaska Weather on the 11th day of May 2022. I'm David Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. And first graphic, let's see, Alaska River Breakup Map. And let's see, there's a flood warning out for Galena on the Copper River there, or north of Galena, for the Galena area, north of the Glen Highway. Flooding on Moose Creek and the surrounding areas is occurring and expected to occur through tonight, and that warning's out until 10 a.m. Friday. And then moving up to the north, there's a flood warning also out on the Yukon River at Circle, and that's out until 4 p.m. Thursday due to ice jam flooding that's going on there. And then out to the west there in that blue boxed area, there's a flood watch there along the, let's see, well, actually a flood watch on the Yukon River at Galena until, let's see, Thursday morning for Galena for possible ice jam flooding there as well. And from that, moving on to the, let's see, hazardous weather graphic. There's a frost advisory out for the Yakutat area in the northern panhandle for tonight until about 8 a.m. tomorrow, looking at temperatures possibly falling into the upper 20s or more likely around 30 degrees. Of course, that's going to be quite varied and variable depending on your elevation, cloud cover, and any breezy wind conditions you might have. Of course, the wind-sheltered areas and the higher valleys have a better chance of falling into the upper 20s than the, other areas will. And that's it as far as watches, warnings, advisories go. Still no big storms around. And then the total lunar eclipse expected to occur this Sunday night won't really be visible from Alaska. Kind of got the short end of this eclipse, and best view will be over eastern North America. So moving on from there to, let's see, there we go. Get the right cursor going here. Satellite imagery showing moisture moving in, another band coming in from the Russian Far East into the western interior, and that's starting to spread some mid and high level clouds now into south central Alaska, east of the Alaska Range, into the Kenai Peninsula, with precipitation occurring back to the west, all across the west coast areas, until you get down to about Bristol Bay, and just clouds down in that area and the Alaska Peninsula. And the eastern interior, seeing some partly to mostly sunny skies today. Some clouds there over the Copper River Basin up in the Tanana Valley, but there's also some sunshine mixed in there. And over the Panhandle, looking at low pressure south of the Queen Charlottes, that's circulating moisture northwestward, bringing periods of rain into the southern southeast coast. I should clarify that, periods of light rain. Last 12 hours, Cake and Metlakatla picking about 0.15 of an inch of precipitation, with lighter amounts up to the north, maybe 0.05 at Petersburg, Wrangell area, then dry farther to the north with sunshine along the North Gulf Coast today, and hazy sunshine this afternoon. That's just high clouds, cirrus spreading across Kodiak Island. And back you can see high pressure over the Bering Sea, southern Bering Sea, and that directing that moisture farther to the west of Shimia up across the Komodorskis. Then it takes a turn to the east. You can see another batch of moisture there over the Russian Far East coast there, Wrangell Island. That's going to be dropping southeastward quite rapidly in good northwest jet coming down from the northwest. I'll be carrying that into the interior, and another round of snow coming in with that into the northwest, and rain and snow over the western interior. And again, looking at that flow, you can see the low center with this next batch right along the Yukon River, at least aloft there, upper trough through the area there. And moisture, all the rain-producing clouds staying mostly west of the Kuskokwim Valley, Kuskokwim Mountains westward and northwestward. Let's see, about 30 3/4 of a mile here this afternoon at 2 p.m. at Caltech in light snow there. 1 to 2 inches had fallen at Kelly and Ambler as well as Nome, and of course any sunshine gets on that and that tends to melt it right off. On the chart today you can see that next trough coming into the western interior, taking a turn to the southeast. That's spreading moisture up to the western Alaska range, maybe starting to kick off a few scattered isolated showers over the Aleutian range, and that's about it. Mountainous terrain in northeastern Bristol Bay. Also some snow going on with that Arctic low north of the Arctic coast, central western Arctic coast seeing some light snow at times today, but nothing significant there. And the snow ending over the Seward Peninsula, that came in earlier today for the Nome and White Mountain area, and that's ended, and temperatures rising up to around 40 degrees this afternoon. High pressure dominating the Bering Sea, pretty strong center there just west or near the Pribilof Islands, and that keeping all that moisture to the west and southwest and directing it up to the north there into the Russian Far East. Then low pressure south of the Panhandle or near the Queen Charlotte's, that bringing the rain to the southern southeast coast, but dry, variably mostly cloudy conditions up to the north to mostly clear for the North Gulf Coast, and also areas of clearing over the eastern interior. And looking ahead to tonight, next Arctic front, that low center comes quite rapidly out of the Russian Far East, and the low center moves into the Chukchi Sea there. That'll spread more snow into the Bering Strait, northern Shishmaref area, northern Seward Peninsula, and into the northwest coast and the long mountains as well as the western Arctic coast. Even central coast will see a little bit of light snow with possible flurries as far east as maybe Dead Horse. Otherwise, trough in the central interior will continue cloudy skies with rain and snow showers from the Kobuk-Koyukuk, or actually more like the Koyukuk Valley. That whole area is slowly shifting eastward. It'll extend down into the northern Kuskokwim Valley, maybe some moisture down toward the southwest mountains, but scattered rain and snow showers over the Aleutian Range, Alaska Peninsula. And low pressure now developing in the western Gulf. That'll increase the shower activity over the southern Kenai Peninsula, maybe Cook Inlet and Kodiak Island. Otherwise, slight chance of showers continues for the southern Panhandle. That low near the Queen Charlotte's really not moving a whole lot. Dry conditions up to the north. And the outlook for Thursday, tomorrow, we've got high pressure still dominating the Bering Sea, keeping the moisture out to the west and pushing it toward the north. That cold front, Arctic front, pushes into the right along the Yukon River tomorrow, the low center pushing over to the eastern Brooks Range area. Colder air behind that once again, so snow with that coming down, and then advance of the front, rain and snow showers depending on your elevation, of course, and time of the day. It'll stay dry, but look for pretty cloudy skies for south central Alaska. That low center that brought a chance of moisture to Kodiak Island tonight drops southward, so it'll be back into the mostly sunny skies tomorrow after a slight chance of some shower activity tonight. North Gulf Coast, another nice day. Even the Copper River Basin, not too bad. Variably cloudy skies, maybe some clearing. Temperatures on the cool side. Chance of rain and snow showers continue, or rain showers lower elevations for the southern Panhandle, but dry up to the north. And moving on to Friday, a couple of troughs dropping southward, bringing surges of moisture with it for some scattered rain and snow showers over the Yukon Flats into the White Mountains. Another one there coming, bringing a pretty good chance of some moisture now into all the areas of Cook Inlet and south central Alaska. Of course, that'll be in the form of snow with any elevation at all. That extends down into the southern Kenai Peninsula, North Gulf Coast. Chance of rain and snow over the southern Panhandle. High pressure staying put over the Bering Sea, keeping winds light and conditions dry with some clearing, especially along the west coast there. A little breezy across the Alaska Peninsula, northwest winds possibly gusting 30, maybe 35 miles an hour. And for lows tonight, teens and 20s, Brooks Range, actually the Kobuk Valley, all the way out to the Arctic coast. 30s elsewhere across the state, lower 40s Kodiak Island. And highs tomorrow, 50 to 55 across southern Alaska and the Panhandle, lower 50s Kodiak Island, upper 30s to lower 40s central interior, 30 to 35 for the northern valleys to the Brooks Range, and upper 20s to mid 30s for the Arctic coast. Friday morning lows down 10 to 20 above for the North Slope and the Arctic coast, and 25 to 33 for the Brooks Range, or mainly in the upper 20s, mid to upper 20s there for the Brooks Range. Down around 20 north shore of the Seward Peninsula, mid 20s for St. Lawrence Island, and upper 20s to lower 30s for the central interior. And you can see temperatures dropping down to 30 degrees right to the southwest coast. The frost point there, 32 freezing degree isotherm right across the Pribilofs. Otherwise milder near 40 southern Alaska, Kodiak Island. Highs Friday afternoon staying on the chilly side in the central interior right around 40 degrees. And near freezing for Ambler and out toward Kotzebue, upper 20s along the Arctic coast, but lower 50s for Bristol Bay and Kodiak Island, and mid to upper 50s across the southeast coastal areas.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Moving on to flying weather for the significant weather graphic. IFR from the northwest coast, western Brooks Range, Seward Peninsula, St. Lawrence Island, through the northern and eastern Bering Sea, right down to the north shore of the Alaska Peninsula, and from Atka to Unalaska Island. And the interior, increasing marginal VFR with some IFR developing there over the mid-Tanana Valley, say possibly just east of Tanana, in across the Fairbanks area, maybe Nanana, but staying VFR there from about Isabel Pass on eastward and southward for the Copper River Basin. Marginal VFR banking up along the western Alaska Range, with staying VFR for Cook Inlet, Bristol Bay, and along the Kuskokwim Mountains, as well as the Panhandle and North Gulf Coast. Some marginal VFR showing up along the east side of Kodiak, Fognak Island. And for the, afternoon package showing IFR over the central interior of the state. Again, marginal VFR trying to push east and south of the Alaska Range, not quite doing it. So Susitna Valley, southward to the Kenai Peninsula, staying VFR, Copper River Basin to the North Gulf Coast, VFR. So marginal VFR sliding up into the southern Panhandle, VFR for Kodiak Island, and a big area of IFR over the central and southeastern Bering Sea, down to the central Aleutians and along the north shore of the Alaska Peninsula, Unmak and Unalaska Islands, but becoming VFR for St. Lawrence Island. And then for Friday morning, IFR Arctic Coast North Slope, south of the Brooks Range, VFR over the northern Koyukuk, all the Kobuk valleys out toward Kotzebue. Then you pick up marginal VFR there from the northwest coast, across Seward Peninsula, Norton Sound, St. Lawrence Island, Yukon Delta Coast to Nunivak Island, south of that area, VFR, Kuskokwim Valley, lower Yukon River Valley areas into Bristol Bay and Kodiak Island, IFR for Prince William Sound, and now it looks like that IFR zone into the Chugach Mountains, Chugach Park, Turnagain, Knik Arms into possibly Anchorage, and down to maybe Cooper Landing, Broadview area, the Kenai Peninsula. Soldotna Kenai, marginal, Homer, Seldovia, looking VFR, as well as Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island, and much of the Panhandle, including Yakutat, South Central Bering Sea, Central Eastern Aleutians, IFR. That area holds into Friday afternoon out there over the Bering Sea. VFR, though, Northern Bering, St. Lawrence Island, all of the southwest coast, western interior, south of the Brooks Range, VFR, Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island, some looks like possible marginal VFR, extreme eastern Fognak Island, maybe down to Chiniak Cape there, east side of Kodiak Island, and then IFR up into Prince William Sound, and some IFR banked up there on the west and northwest side of the Alaska Range, and marginal through all of the interior up to the Arctic coast with some IFR there for the eastern Brooks Range, and marginal VFR southern Panhandle. IFR for Anatuvik and Adigan and the Brooks Range for tomorrow. Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR. Rainy, marginal conditions become IFR, possibly into the afternoon toward evening. And windy, lowest conditions, northern entrance, good possibility of that being IFR. Isabel, downward trend, VFR trending toward marginal throughout the afternoon hours. Mentasta, though, staying VFR. Tanita, same forecast, VFR. VFR for Portage and Chilkoot and White. Freezing levels 2 to 8,000 feet there from the southwest interior. It's across southern Alaska for 2,000 feet, up to 8,000 feet over the Alaska Peninsula, southern Bering Sea, and the Aleutians. And for icing, with that moisture coming in with the next upper level trough, areas of isolated moderate, possibly could be some mix thrown in above 4,000 feet, and then more scattered icing possibilities over the southern and southeast panhandle. Jet stream, next upper low dropping into the north slope, and there's 110 knot northwest winds cutting across the northern Bering Sea, turning northerly and diminishing across the North Gulf Coast and Kodiak Island. 9,000 feet, northwest 50 knots just off the southwest coast, 35 knots, southwest interior, turning west at 30 knots across the Yukon Flats. 3,000 feet, 35 knot winds from the north to west there, to the southwest of that low over the Brooks Range. Turbulence-wise, light to isolated moderate chop, surface to 6,000 feet from the northwest coast, western Brooks Range to Nunivak Island, and possibly for the Alaska Peninsula.
Just as the sun is part of weather on Earth, it also affects weather in space. The sun creates solar wind by steadily releasing a flow of plasma particles in all directions around it. Sometimes the sun gives off a flash of light and X-rays. This is known as a solar flare. When massive bursts of particles explode into space, we call it a coronal mass ejection, or CME. When a CME is directed toward Earth, it hits the magnetosphere, the magnetic field around our planet that protects us. If the storm is large, we may even get to enjoy a light display in the sky called the auroras. In space, satellites may be damaged, and astronauts should take cover. On Earth, people do not feel any physical effects. We may lose electricity in some areas, polar flights may be rerouted, and satellite services may be disrupted. While these situations aren't ideal, they are rare and fixable. This is why we will continue to study the sun and its interactions with Earth and the solar system.
Longing for more space, open skies, and exotic travel? Then look up, about 30 to 600 miles straight up, at the ionosphere, Earth's interface to space. Nestled far above the clouds but below outer space, this little understood destination invites you to explore its many features. Experience both the weather from Earth and the weather from space. Marvel at the ballet of radio waves and navigation signals, like GPS, leaping through this particle paradise. Sit back, relax, and take in the aurora, some satellites, and the International Space Station as they sail by. And you'll want your camera handy for one of the region's signature features, bright and colorful air glow. This daily show is made possible by the ionosphere's own swirling charged particles, because that's what the ionosphere is. It's all charged particles. During the day, enjoy the sea of particles, freshly energized by the sun. As the sun sets, this particle party relaxes and the air glow thins. Our quieter nightlife lets you gaze into clearer skies. The ionosphere is in constant motion, an amazing effect of space weather. Don't miss when solar storms rain down. The storm separates the particles even more, making this colorful region delightfully more dense in some places and stunningly sparse in others. And don't forget about storms from Earth below. Your weather from back home also stirs up this one-of-a-kind destination. Experience the unique beauty of every season, as changes in Earth's atmosphere, daily and annually, can create pressure waves, changing the ionosphere's shape and density. Venture to the equator, where our particles are packed in lush and thick. Cruise along a magnetic field line and see how the ionosphere's charged material also interacts with Earth's own magnetic field. Don't miss the superhighway of particles zipping out to space and back down to the planet. This unpredictable parade of charged particles can help you unplug and unwind. This is because the crowd of particles can garble the radio and satellite communications from home. The ionosphere welcomes you to discover more about this little-known region. After all, once you've explored this interface to space, who knows how much farther you'll be able to go.
When a star, bigger and more massive than the Sun, runs out of fuel at the end of its life, its core collapses while the outer layers are blown off in a supernova explosion. What's left behind depends on the star's original mass. A star roughly 10 to 20 times our Sun leaves behind a neutron star. A more massive star becomes a black hole. Unlike black holes, neutron stars are directly observable, usually as pulsars, the lighthouses of the cosmos. Discovered 50 years ago, they are the densest observable objects in the universe. Neutron stars compress up to twice the Sun's mass into a city-sized sphere. Matter is packed so tightly that a teaspoon of neutron star interior would weigh more than 1 billion tons on Earth. Still, the nature of the ultra-dense matter in the cores of neutron stars is unknown. Because neutron stars pack so much mass into such a tiny volume, they produce gravity strong enough to bend the light they emit, distorting their appearance in a way that enables the mass and size of the star to be measured. Scientists cannot reproduce the extreme conditions in and around neutron stars on Earth. They must look into the galaxy to answer decades-old questions about extreme matter and gravity. NASA's Neutron Star Interior Composition Explorer mission, or NISA, will make X-ray observations of neutron stars from its perch on the International Space Station. It will give astronomers more insight into these mysterious objects, helping determine what is under their surface. A multi-purpose mission, NISA includes a technology demonstration called Sextant. It will analyze NISA's observations to validate the use of rapidly rotating neutron stars as navigation beacons for travel in deep space throughout the solar system and beyond.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Looking at coastal water forecast for the Panhandle and the South Coast, you got north to northwest winds 10 to 15 knots. North Coast, looking at northwesterlies at 15 knots, seas at about 5 feet. And for Lincoln Island Glacier Bay, winds north 15 knots, seas 3 feet. Central and southern inner channels, looking at north to northwest breeze at 10 knots with 2 to 3 foot seas. And taking a look ahead to Friday, on the South Coast, kind of a light variable wind condition at about 10 knots with 4 foot seas. Light winds also on the North Coast from the west and northwest. Same thing at 10 knots. Seas at about 4 feet. And central and southern inner channels, south to southeast breezes at 10 knots with 2 foot seas. Lincoln Island Glacier Bay, northern inside waters. South winds at 15 knots with 3 foot seas. And for the Cook Inlet area, south to southwest breeze 15 to 20 knots with 4 to 5 foot seas. Otherwise, Kamishak Bay winds will be out of the northwest at 15 knots. Southwest winds 15 knots. For the Barren Islands and western North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, light variable winds on Thursday with slight seas, and eastern North Gulf Coast, west winds 15 knots. Those turn southeast at 15 for the eastern North Gulf Coast on Friday. Prince William Sound winds stay light, a little more predominantly out of the east, but still at 10 knots. And for the western North Gulf Coast, northeast winds 20 knots. And small craft advisories for the Barren Islands, north winds 25 knots. Small craft advisories also out for the Kamishak Bay area for Friday for northwest winds at 25 knots, seas just under 10 feet. And for Cook Inlet, northerly winds 15 to 20 knots with seas as high as 6 feet. And for Kodiak Island, north winds 15 knots, seas 4 feet. Shelikof Strait, southwest winds 15 knots with 3 foot seas. Alaska Peninsula, northerly winds 15 to 20 knots. And for Bristol Bay, winds will be out of the west at 20 knots. And for Friday, Kodiak Island, north to northwest winds 25 knots, seas to 7 feet. Alaska Peninsula, northwest winds 20 to 25 knots. And Bristol Bay looking at northwest winds at 20 knots. Eastern Aleutians on Alaska Island, north winds 20 knots. Unimak Island, northeast at 20 knots. Adak-Anatka, east-northeast 15 to 20 knots. Amchitka Island, light east winds at 15 knots. And from Kiska to Shimia, southeast breezes at 15 knots with 5 foot seas. And for Friday, On Alaska Island, you'll see the most wind across the entire Aleutian chain, north to northwest, 15 to 25 knots. Otherwise, central Aleutians variable to east at 15 knots. And for the western Aleutians, east-southeast winds 15 knots, seas around 5 feet. And for the Pribilofs, on Thursday, northwest breeze at 15 knots with 3-foot seas. Otherwise, across the northern Bering Sea, right into the southwest coast, winds will be out of the west at 20 knots. Seas right around 5 feet. St. Lawrence Island, winds will be west at 20 knots with 4-foot seas. Small craft advisories for Norton Sound for west winds at 25 knots. And then for Friday, Norton Sound, those winds fall back to 15 knots from the northwest. St. Lawrence Island looking at west winds at 15 knots. Light variable winds for the Yukon Delta coast. Light variable winds for the Pribilofs at about 10 knots. West 15 for St. Matthew Island. With small craft advisories for the Kuskokwim Delta coastline south of Nunivak Island due to northwest winds sustained at 25 knots. Eastern Beaufort Sea coastline, brisk wind advisories there for west-southwest winds sustained at 25 knots. Central coast west at 20, west side northwest 20 knots. Then brisk wind advisories from Cape Beaufort to Wales for northerly winds 25 to 30 knots. Those fall back, switch direction. From Wales to Cape Beaufort, southwest, 10 to 15 knots. And the remainder of the Arctic coast looking at 15 knots, mostly out of the west. For tonight, cold front dropping into the northwest part of the state there will bring areas of snow and snow showers with it, light snow and snow showers. Another trough in the central interior there will bring rain and snow showers, again, depending on your elevation, time of night, and latitude there. Kuskokwim Valley on up to the Brooks Range, and a chance of showers with that low south of the Kenai Peninsula into the Kenai Peninsula, Kodiak Island, Cook Inlet. And high pressure over the Bering Sea holds through Thursday, keeping that rainy area out back to the west there and directing it into the Russian Far East as a cold front drops south and southeastward with colder temperatures and snow. Into the central interior tomorrow. Stays dry, but clouds will increase over south central Alaska, and chance of rain and snow showers south central Alaska on Friday.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.